Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Mr. Abdelrahman, writer and journalist and political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you and hello to the dear speaker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abdelrahman, how do you see the importance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's taking part in the second edition of the Russia-African Summit as the President have just arrived today?
Well, such visit, such summit is crowning a long march of relations, strong relations between Egypt as the key country of the African continent, along with the friendly country Russia. The Russian-Egyptian relations has witnessed a new era right afterwards the success of the revolution, June 30, along with the historical visit by Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Moscow and meeting with his counterpart, Mr. Vladimir Putin, and visiting, of course, the most crucial places in Moscow, as welcomed as a great Egyptian leader, a leader for a revolution and a leader of a great country. This relations has evolved through those 10 years, along with more dimensions, more horizons, comes with the important role in Africa as the key country in the continent, as the guardian and the leader country of the continent. Of course, Egypt is protecting the best interests of the continent, and of course, we are trying to reach the best terms of communication and cooperation with Russia as a key country in Europe and in Asia. And of course, this cooperation represents that vision that is confronting colonization in the continent of Africa, along searching for the best interest for the nations, the African nations, the African nations that have suffered a lot for centuries.
Yes.
And it's time for this continent to see a better future.
Yes. Mr. Abdelrahman, the last edition of the summit that was in 2019, it was under the presidency of Egypt, as Egypt was the president of the African Union, and that was very important as it was inaugurated when Egypt was the African Union president. But actually, during the last edition of, or the first edition of the summit, it witnessed the signing of agreements between Russia and African countries, especially in the field of energy. How would this edition, the second edition of the summit, would act as a great opportunity for the African countries to find support from Russia, like, for example, what happened in the first edition of signing agreements in the field of energy for the benefit of the African countries?
Well, of course, such a strategic action taken by the two sides in Cairo and in Moscow concerning developing the African nations economically, and of course in fields like energy and other economical fields are very important. As we are speaking the word or the language of economical wars, to protect ourselves as countries, as nations, we must have a strong and a stronger economy. That comes through the solid relations with our associates in the whole world. And of course, Russia is one of the most important associates to the African countries, achieving the goals that both sides are seeking. And of course, energy are the sign of the time. And of course, Africa is a huge source for energy, as well as using that Egyptian strategy that it has developed throughout the presidency of Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, which is nationalizing technology within our own soils, upon our own land, not only in Egypt, but also in our friendly and brotherly countries in Africa. That's very important concept that we are taking the lead as a new way of cooperation, not just importing technology from outside, from abroad, but also nationalizing and making it happen on our own soil with our own hands. So we don't need aid. We turn our countries to associates, not just takers, not just who receives benefits from other countries.
Yes.
We need to build this very important aspect all over the continent.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. Mr. Amr Abdelrahman, journalist and political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and